Hi, I'm Binaifa Mirza, a lifestyle writer and voice artist, and welcome to Sabia's exclusive videos. Today, I'm extremely happy to have a very special guest, Shrishti Behel Arya. She is the former promoter director of Rose Audio Visuals Private Limited and was leading Netflix India original films. She is the daughter of well-known film producer Mr. Ramesh Behel and the grandniece of veteran actor Rajendra Kumar. Conversations about cinema were a part of her childhood. She, along with her siblings, grew up watching various films of the Indian film industry. Initially, she worked for an ad agency, then switched to making films independently. She joined Netflix India in 2018 and has also been involved in creating films that inspire women and the youth. She is known for her ability to speak to a creator's heart and has given us titles such as Class of 83, AK versus AK, Ye Ballet, Bulbul, Ghost Stories, Guilty, and Muska. Shrishti, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Thank you. And Shrishti, this evening, we also have with us Chetna Shetty, who is a volunteer and a PR manager at Share a Book India Association for the last 3 years. And until the pandemic, she used to run her own library development program at Mitnagar Municipal School, Goregaon. A mother of 3 kids herself, she's worked as an instructional designer for 18 years. So she is going to tell us a little bit about Sabia, and Chetna joins me in welcoming you.
Hi.
Chetna, I cannot believe you. You have 3 kids.
Yeah, I do.
Wow, amazing. And you're running a library. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. So, Shrishti, tell me some of your earliest, fondest memories of books.
Oh, I've been a bookworm. My parents were constantly complaining about me reading all the time. I used to read in the bathroom. I used to read at the table. I used to read while driving to school. I mean, I just loved books. I don't remember a single time when I wasn't in the middle of reading something. I love that a lot of people nowadays have the libraries as their backdrop. It looks really cool, like Chetna's. I have a corridor that is an entire library in my house, so I just can't sit there. But yeah, starting with whether it was, I mean, obviously Enid Blyton in those days, which at that point we didn't have a sense of a lot of things that we look at differently at the moment. But growing up with whether it was a faraway tree or it was your Winnie the Pooh eventually, or like even your Secret Seven, Bobbsey Twins, Nancy Drew. I mean, I've done it all. My mom used to hide and give our books away to the Raddiwala. Fortunately, now I have a son who is also very much into reading. I mean, I have a son as in he's 19 now, but I've saved a lot of books. He likes to read. I mean, he's reading fairly senior stuff at the moment, but I like to do a nice mix of Indian authors and stuff. So books have been something like I was very excited to be here because books are very important.
That's lovely. So, being a reader yourself, did it help you to kind of imbibe the art, the practice of reading into your son?
I believe, Binaifa, always that with children, what you can, you can say whatever you want. They will always emulate what they see. The fact that they see, my son would see his mother reading around him all the time, and there were books and there was a special place where things were kept, I think definitely encouraged him and made him feel that it was something that was the done thing to do. Very often, even in small things of whether how we want somebody else in the house to be addressed, or where we want to see inculcate habits in our children, of even putting a glass away by themselves into the kitchen. These are things that they need to see their parents actively do themselves. I had kind of lost touch with reading for a few years. The business is such that you do a lot of reading anyway, and reading for pleasure then sometimes becomes a lower priority. But when I realized I was pregnant, I used to read to my child, and random things like Edward de Bono and lateral thinking and stuff like that. And but of course, from the time that he was born, and I do that now with my niece. I have a 5-year-old niece, my sister's daughter, and I've just recently subscribed to this publication called Pluto, which is a really sweet Hindi magazine that comes out bi-monthly. And because, children are losing touch with reading Hindi, and not to say that I can read very strongly in Hindi, but definitely I can read to a 5-year-old. And so that's just something that's become Masi and Sirat time. And we kind of go through that and talk through it. And from that first moment of saying, Masi, why Hindi? To now saying, okay, Masi, explain this and explain that, and then telling me the new words she's learning. I think it's very important for us to show and not tell in life.
Absolutely. And I think it's lovely, Shrishti, because you are some way also passing on the legacy of your mother tongue, which is also a dying practice I've seen in India. So great, great. Chetana, would you like to tell us a little bit about Share a Book India Association and the beautiful, beautiful fundraiser that Sabia is having?
So we have been working with getting libraries to children, providing better quality education, and just opening up the kids to the magic of books. That's the whole idea behind Sabya. And then the pandemic hit, and our library development programs went into the back drive. And, the children's education has been very, very affected, especially in marginalized communities. So we are doing what we can to help to get the books to them, to build community libraries, to reach them via technology. And for all this, we need funds. So far we were just running on the goodwill of volunteers mostly. But now we need to take the books to the people around, children around the country. And that's what this fundraiser is in aid of. And our link is in the bio, in the Share a Book page and Instagram handle. And we've tied up with Milap, so they have you can donate over there. And basically no amount is too small.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And in fact, if for any, kind-hearted people who are not living in India and who want to contribute, Sabia also has a bank account where you can contribute directly. So, Shrishti, we at Sabia really want to establish public libraries for the underprivileged children. How do you think will this initiative help in the development of creative thinking among children as a whole?
I think that this is one of the most important things that we can do, because it's only access to, reading. I believe this very, very strongly, and I say this a lot to writers, and having interacted with writers for almost 30 years of my life now, that you cannot be a writer who is proud of not being a reader. It is not possible to be anything in a creative business, and I cannot say this strongly enough, to have no access to reading or to have no interest in reading. Yes, of course, watching movies is a different discipline, but when you're a creator, whether it be a writer or a director, and I would even say to be an actor, you have to, there's nothing stronger than reading, which is going to release your imagination and make you play all those parts and imagine that world and see the joy of storytelling, because this is where storytelling belongs, right? This is where it begins, sorry. And that's from where we can all carry it forward. So I would say that if it wasn't for books, and you don't read enough, then today we've been through the whole gamut of theater, which is existing in a different format, and you have films that are theatrical, and then you have TV shows, and now you have web series, and then you have OTT films. And tomorrow, as the technology progresses, eventually, you don't know where it's going to go, but the seed, the germ is always going to be the story that it begins from, which starts in your head. So if you want to have that kind of imagination, and I'm sorry, I'm going to take another minute and say that access to different kinds of books, in different languages, and not necessarily books that you want to own, but also books that you've read and shared with other people, shows you another side, which you may not naturally gravitate to. Right. I remember there was a library around the corner from my house, and we'd go there and we'd argue about which is the next book to go to take from there, and in your own age group, and the smell of an old book, and to see who all had taken it out before. They're like recommending, to you the list of people and who you aspire to be like. When you see, a library card, I mean, I don't know if that exists anymore. But although I do have a Kindle and all that, but the smell, I mean, although I'm not, yeah, well, I can just pick up books from all over my desk and show you because there's a library there, but yeah, there are books all around, and it's so inspiring. It's very important to have these kind of initiatives. I think Rohit Roy's daughter, very young in life, I don't know if you're aware of that, Chetna, Kiara, when she was a very young girl, she's just gone off to college. She started a kind of a public library for kids in four bungalows, wherein because she, being from a more privileged background, would be able to get all these books. And as a child, she started putting them out in this box outside in her building, where people could borrow and put other stuff in. So I think that the spirit of a reader is somebody who's very is very generous in a way, because that by sharing stories, you kind of multiply them. It never gets taken away. All you get is a different perspective. I talk a lot.
Oh, but you talk sense, and it's so inspiring. Shrishti, we at Sambhya aim to educate children, especially the girls. And being someone who promotes women empowerment, and you've also worked on films that have aimed to inspire women, how do you think reading can inspire little girls across India? Because there's a very clear gender disparity when it comes to even the access of education. So, what's your take on that?
I think that, it's only through seeing other people's work, and seeing other people's lives, that you realize that you are not alone. In the differences, like today, I'm reading a translation of Kamala Das, right? And that time of life, unfortunately, I cannot read Malayalam, so I could not read it in the language that it was written. However, to see the commonalities between my life and this lady tens of years ago, in a small town in Kerala, actually, living between Kerala and Kolkata, pre-independence, and the thoughts and the meanings, the emotions, they kind of give you confidence in being who you are. They give you flight. And especially if you are going to be a creative person, a lot of things, to state the obvious, frankly, even in my tenor, everybody knows Sacred Games, which was a show that was based on a book. And then, of course, we've seen Suitable Boy also, which was based on a book. But I had commissioned a film called Cobalt Blue, which is based on a Marathi book, which should be coming out soon. And then there's a book called Serious Men. And as we speak right now, Nawazuddin Siddiqui is in New York, where he's been nominated for a Best Actor Emmy. And let's hope that he wins and brings it back home for India. But these are all based on books and interpretations of the same books. And even in the global side, you look at things like say Game of Thrones, Nine Perfect Strangers. So these are in that. But for all of us in our generation, you would always know that there's Malgudi days. And that's where it all started from for all of us. There is so much history and so much culture, and it gives you a peek into other lives. And it also creates empathy. So I think more so for girls, to know that there is a world out there that exists, which is different from where they may be at the moment, and that they too can aspire to have that life and to have those means. I think that's very, very, very important.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you a very tricky question now, Shrishti. So basically, what do you think is more helpful for the development and education of a child? Reading books, being an avid reader yourself, or being from the film industry and being so involved in making movies and web series? So would it be watching content or reading content?
That's going why does it have to be a choice? It's the best of all worlds. It's really not a choice. They are completely different experiences. It's the same thing. I would say that when you're watching a show, or you're watching a film, with your family on an OTT service on your TV, or you're watching an OTT film on your phone, or you're going out to the theater with your whole family, or you're going out to the theater with your friends. Each one of them are a different experience. But for me personally, to be in that private world with that book in the night, now I'm too old for anybody to stop me. But from the time of mom coming into the room and saying that, shut the light, go to sleep, you have school tomorrow. I think there's nothing that can replace that feeling, because people oftentimes say things like, oh, the film wasn't as good as the book. Nothing is ever as good as your imagination, and that's what the book is, right? You create your world through the writer. It takes you down and you make it your own, because like they say, no two people ever read the same book.
That's so beautifully put, Shrishti. So tell me one thing. I mean, was it a struggle to kind of get your son to get reading? I mean, compared to your younger years where you were really interested in reading, was it like a struggle because a completely different generation?
No, I would say, and I don't know, Chetna, maybe you can also lean in because you have three kids and I just one. I got a bit lucky, with the fact that he seemed to take to it. I started with Shel Silverman, who does all those poetry books and they're beautifully illustrated, like the Very Hungry Caterpillar and stuff like that. So just getting into a habit of seeing the images and reading, like I'm trying to do with Sirat now, to just point out the words and then see the images and talk through the book, they get interested on their own and then they kind of pick it up. However, we must understand that there are children who have certain things like dyslexia or have an ADD or other problems, which prevents them from being able to read. However, I always say that it's not that you're not a reader, you just haven't found the book you want to read. And that is something that's really, I truly believe to be true, because now in today's day and age, you don't have to be stuck with like long form novels. I mean, one has done the reading of like Wuthering Heights and stuff like that. You won't expect that to happen for everybody right now. But today you have short format stories, you have tiny tales, you have, when you're a reader, you're reading the back of a book, you're reading off the platform in the train, you're reading the ads, you're just reading because you're just devouring the written word. So you can find like graphic novels, you have comic books, you have so many formats that you can exploit. And I think we shouldn't judge the children who don't really get into it, but we need to try and understand what it is and how it is that we can find them their favorite book, if that made any sense.
It does, because I think every child is so unique. So you need to kind of plan the book as for the child and not the other way around. Chetna, do you have any inputs on this? Like as Shrishti correctly said, you have three kids. So how was your journey?
Yeah, so all three of my kids are voracious readers like me. And I believe very strongly in what Srishti said that, when they grow up in a house that is filled with books and they have constant access to books, and when they see their parents reading all the time, and also when you are, winding down, going to sleep, I always read to the children, we'd sit snuggled up under a razai and read the book. So they associate it with something warm and comforting. And for me also, books were something that was comforting. It's somewhere to go to when the world outside gets too much, and that feeling transmits itself to them, I think, and they also start to think of books as a refuge. And even at Sabia, that's what we're trying to do with these libraries: give the children constant access, have fun with books. Don't treat it as something like a textbook where you have to read this or have to read that. Give it your own spin. Let's do plays about it. Let's give it a twist and, come up with wacky rhymes and stuff so that books become something accessible and comfortable. I think that really helps with the kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, Shrishti, I'm so happy and proud to share that Sabia was basically founded in 2016, and in the last 4 5 years, they've been instrumental in providing education to 26,000 children. So that's and not in the fanciest places of India, in the remotest and the most rural parts of India. So I think that's the beauty of the organization. So moving on, so we at Savya also do a lot of storytelling sessions with the underprivileged kids. So being a director yourself, do you think that these sessions could make the students more curious about knowledge and stories as a whole?
100%. I, in fact, think that if you were to get like writers who are working on material that has to come out somewhere, they should all come and read to the kids, because you also get a live reaction, because children are unfiltered, and it's a famous saying that I was smart and education ruined me. So before they learn that what should be said and shouldn't be said is an amazing time to actually get genuine feedback from children. So it's a two-way learning always. The more engaging we can make it for the children, and I'm volunteering to come and read anytime, but the more engaging we can make it for the kids, the more they get interested in finding out their own way and their own version of doing things. and not just elders reading to them, but them learning to read to each other and then passing it on. I think one of the most gratifying moments for me has been to see my son, he and his my niece, they have like a, I think, 12-year age difference or something. And, the way that he reacts to his books, or that he, through the ages, we've kept his books, like certain stage books of his, and always made sure that we've donated the rest of the books to whoever we could, including like my nephew as well, who's not a big reader, but I know that he enjoys a certain kind of book, which is where the learning comes from, that, you have children who have certain kinds of books, but there are certain books that my son Veer has always held on to and not wanted to give away, including like a, what is it? It's got a fluffy stomach teddy bear on it. And, from there to like all the way now to, I think, what was the last thing he read? He read God of Small Things at the moment. So, it's going quite a gamut, but also giving children a little bit of ownership. And that first thing, when we all talk about things today, people want to be the first and they want to be the ones to share things. I think a lot of ways when you talk about Instagram or you talk about any social media, people want to put themselves out there and tell people what they're doing. I think this having an open session, and especially like having a library like setting, is an extension of that, because you're telling people about yourself. And if you can recommend this book or your version of the book, we just need to make it fun again. There's somewhere down the line, reading turned into a chore, and it happens to us also. As we try and get more excited about different material that we want to sample, we also start reading up, so to speak, like reading really heavy books, and then it becomes like, oh my God. So I personally always like to read at least 2 to 3 books at the same time, because there's something that you're reading, which is, like at the moment, there's this Isabella Wilkinson book called Caste that I'm reading, which is a hard read, and then I'm reading this Childhood in Malabar. And, and then there's a non-fiction book on the other end. So it's just like helps you keep it fresh and keep it going. And I think we should encourage children to do that. Taking away structure from reading and making it about passion over structure, I think something is, maybe we can do better at it.
Very true, very true. So if you were given the choice of adapting a couple of books into a series or a set of movies or something, which would your choices be?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. You're constantly reading. There's a book right now that's come out of the New York Times, which is this one. I told you I have books all around. Yeah, so this one I'm reading to see. Then there is a book by Atul Gawande called Complications, which I'm reading also at the moment. I, of course, think God of Small Things is a great book. If we can find a way to make it and take away the likely noise that might be around creating that into material at the moment. But I also know for a fact that I really have scratched the surface. And especially because I read in English, and I have tried to develop like some sort of Hindi. So at the moment, I am trying to build that skill of mine. And I am trying to make sure that I get access to more and more books in languages aside from Hindi as well, that I can follow. I mean, I'm a Bombay girl, so I understand Marathi and I understand Gujarati, though I couldn't be able to read in Gujarati. I can read in Marathi. But, there is so much. We have just the most wonderful writing culture, and it's something that we all need to keep alive. There's this amazing book called 21st Century Women Writers, which gives you all these short stories across of women writing in India, across, like it's a volume 1, volume 2, and they've done these translations. I think it's Penguin. Oh my God, the kind of stories those women have written, whether they're from Kerala or from Bengal or from Punjab or from from Gujarat and from all over, and you just see the richness of our literature, all kind of distilled into one space, and it's just never enough, and each story is worth doing, according to me. And now that we have OTT, we have the opportunity to do it in any format, whether it's an anthology, which is short films together, or it is a feature film, or it is a series. Every story needs to be told according.
Absolutely. So what do you think, Shrishti, that somewhere there are a lot of, like we discussed, books that have gotten adapted into series and movies. Do you think that is somewhere a reverse route for people to go back to books. So watch a movie, watch a series that's adapted from a book, and then probably get, really inspired and go back to reading the book.
100%. It happened to me with Game of Thrones. I went back to Song of Ice and Fire after watching 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, and that's quite a tune. I must say that is not a genre that I generally read, which is historical fantasy per se. That's not my genre of choice. Let's put it that way. And because I watched the show and I couldn't wait for the next season, I went back and started reading it. And it's a 6 volumes, of this story. So I'm hoping that that happens in reverse as well. That people do go and check out books once they see the show. We must understand another thing, when I first said what happens is that, like, in today's day and age, everybody also thinks the commitment of time is a lot, right? And so they all feel that, oh, I've already seen this, so there's nothing to discover in this. But having said that, when you look at even like say Ravindra Singh or alongside a Chetan Bhagat and all those writers that are writing to the heart, they are selling out way over any other Indian writer writing in English was doing earlier, right? So when you see that there's obviously a culture there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think the main thing that books teach you is not to be judgmental about other readers, because
Very
there's no
true.
hierarchy of reading, there's no hierarchy of literature.
Very
There
true.
shouldn't be. There's a
Yes.
choice, and
Yes.
you need to be what it is. So that is very encouraging when you see those kind of sales figures about literature as well. There have been some wonderful journalists who've done some wonderful real life stories, which are like fast-paced thrillers, so you don't feel like putting it down. So the sense of achievement of completing the book. We are all about endorphins nowadays, and whatever is going to give us that hit. I think that maybe we should try and figure out something that's going to give our children that thrill of seeing a like in terms of some sort of achievement that they do when they're reading as well.
Yes. So, Srishti, like you correctly said, that people are having such busy lives right now, which is why, do you think, short films, short stories are getting increasingly popular in the last few years, anthologies and stuff?
I think what is happening is just not a time function. I would say that it's a little more than that. I think people are getting more experimental. What we are seeing, and I can speak to most educatedly, would be what we see in on streaming, is that you see that people are far more open to trying things even of different languages. Now, that is one thing that you don't generally do. You read translations of your books, right? But people are watching with subtitles, and people are watching. So I guess they are watching translations as well. With dubs and things like that. So people are becoming more experimental with the formats that they're willing to see. And the ability to tell a story in its perfect format is what I think is getting increased. So what can happen is that if this needs to be told in this way, it can be told in this way. If it needs to be told in that way, it needs to be told in that way, whether it's a short film or it's a full like 3.5 Irishman. So what happens is that all these options are available to people at all times. Similarly, as far as the stories are concerned as well, that there's a story that's going to probably be an anthology of thrillers. So, you're going to be really gripped, and it's just going to be done because right now you have these minutes to do. Or there are stories like, and frankly, even if you see R.K. Lakshman, he's done a lot of that stuff right back in the day, right? So it's been that kind of a format that's been employed with a lot of people. But I think we need to take away the labels and just have only one label on people, which is reader.
Yes, absolutely. So, Shashi, tell me one thing: you read only in English, right? Or do you read?
I read
Hindi
only.
also?
I read very slowly in Hindi. I think
Okay.
part of trying to pass on Hindi to my niece is also trying to revive Hindi for myself. So it's a selfish thing.
Because do you think that no matter how perfectly the content is translated, there is a little bit of a lost in translation, which definitely happens in movies, when they're getting dubbed from a language to the other one. Do you think that happens also with books?
I look, I would not be able to speak to that because there's no two languages. I'm not bilingual to that extent to be able to read a book in Hindi and then read a translation and to be able to catch what's missing. You obviously lose out on something. So what I do make sure is like this, the Kamala Das book I'm reading right now is obviously a translation. And I had read like in the introduction what the challenges are that the translators are trying to cover with it, right? There is a lyricism to every language. There is a rhythm to every language. And so therefore it also has its own idioms. It has its own examples. Some of it is irreplaceable. But between the choice of not having had anything and to have a little bit of something, I would choose having a little bit of something, to have a little bit of color of that place. Yes, I may not, it won't be as beautiful. I feel it sometimes in Hindi when I see the subtitles of Hindi of a film that we worked on, and you see the subtitles in Hindi, and you see like, it's not getting the exact meaning.
Yeah.
But if it gives somebody the joy of watching, like I enjoyed Parasite tremendously, which was a Korean film that I saw with subtitles, right? And I felt that I could get the ethos of the place. I'm sure the filmmakers, the bilingual filmmakers of it would be like, ooh, this is not exactly what I meant. But it would be up to each author. Some people don't. I read the Education of Sita, which is a book, Liberation of Sita, sorry, which has been translated from Telugu by Vega, I think the author is, and very moving piece, very, very, very moving. Again, I wonder, like with all, if it had the whole lyricism of the original language, how brilliant it would have been. But I know how moved I was reading Cobalt Blue in English, although it was originally written in Marathi. So it's important to, I guess, keep us going as much as, keep educating ourselves and hoping that we get to the point where we can get the nuances.
Absolutely. So, Srishti, Sabia's motto is that every child should read, imagine, and grow. How do you think that this motto will help our nation place itself among the top nations as far as literacy rates are concerned in the next decade?
It's not just literacy, Vinay. If your child is reading and has imagination, right, they are going to create a nation that is truly, truly, on the forefront of everything. Because aside from this, there's nothing else that you need. You need your children to feel empowered by having access to education and being able to imagine things, right? So if you know what exists and you know what you want it to be, then you have to just find, join the dots, and you can move into that kind of a space and make that happen. So it's not just a literacy thing. I would definitely say that it is something that we need to do for our nation as a whole and for our own sake. The future is only, some of us are not going to be as, uh, you know, lucid at that point, and we're going to be up to how technology has gone up and how we brought up our children and what is the world and what the world looks like at that point in time. So it's I think this motto should be everybody's motto.
Absolutely. So, Shrishti, as you idly said, that it's not, you cannot categorize a reader. Similarly, coming to our fundraiser, it's not about how much you contribute, it's the heart that counts. So, there are a lot of people who have this hesitation that, oh, I just want to maybe contribute 100 rupees or 200 rupees. Do you have any message for them that no contribution is small enough?
Oh, I think everybody knows that. There is a thing that there's a wonderful book out there called Atomic Habits. I'm sorry, I speak in books. And, the whole book works upon, talks about getting 1% better every day. Because it's eventually, we are all a sum total of the actions that we do. We are not one definitive action. So everything that goes ahead to empower this organization to be able to achieve their goals is going to be bit by bit. There's not going to be there's no silver bullet to solve the world's problems. There is no one thing that happens. And it's a very beautiful Hindi saying that says, "Boond boond se banta sagar." So, no amount is enough. And also there's a sense of self-satisfaction that I did what I can do. I don't think that as an organization, the idea is to make people uncomfortable and go out of their comfort zone and avoid these things. The idea is that if you are somebody who believes in the future, who believes in children, who believes in imagination and such basic fundamental things, you know how important it is to be able to have access for these children, to material that they can read, that they can interact with, that can help them know more about the world that they live in and help them escape to other worlds. So now that seems to be something that I feel is a bit of a no-brainer for most people to want to be part of. So to be in part of the journey, you have to be comfortable so that it can be a journey that can be ongoing to my mind. And it's not, well, this is not what we're doing for likes and hits and endorphins. This is what
Absolutely.
we're doing for ourselves because we know it is the
Absolutely.
right thing.
Absolutely. Shristi, it has been such a pleasure and privilege speaking with you. Is there any message that you would like to give to kids or to parents who are trying to get their child to read?
Oh my, I don't know. I'm learning myself. Please tell me your tricks and trades. But I would just say that there is no greater gift you can give to your child than the gift of reading. And there is no more comfort. I think that Chitna very, very correctly said that there is no more cocooning of warmth and comfort that you can give to yourself than to give yourself a book. So, um, we are all human beings. We function purely on emotion. And, so give yourself that. Give yourself a nice warm hug. Read a book before you sleep.
That's so sweet. Shashi, just a quick shout out to all your fans, audience, viewers to really contribute whatever little or big they can towards this amazing fundraiser.
Everybody must. I know that I will. Please contribute whatever you can. No amount is too small.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Shristi.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.